Hello, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me first remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the reuse and distribution of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. We are also protected by Brandenburg v. Ohio 1969, which I forgot to bring it up, so I can't actually read what it says, but this is all fucking hypothetical. So go fuck yourself and essay guy.
Yep.
Yeah, most professional podcast ever.
We are on top of shit.
Hell yeah, we are.
Yes, this is episode 85, something corona-free listening. Something, I don't know.
Not corona-free though.
Oh, that's right.
It's not corona-free.
Because Derica's freaking drinking.
She's got the corona.
I've got the corona. We have a case of corona in the house.
But she doesn't have limes. She's got a bottle of lime concentrate.
Yup, improvise, adapt, overcome, bitches. I don't have any limes.
That is the most white girl way to drink a Corona ever.
As if it wasn't already just like the worst, just like subpar beer ever. You had to then go, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and also squirt. Not even put a real slice of lime in. Can't even sprinkle that. No, I'm just gonna squirt lime juice.
Hey, look.
Is it lime juice or is it lime juice? Is it lime juice or is it lime juice concentrate?
It's like the fucking real lime juice stuff, you know?
Yeah, see, it's lime juice. It's not concentrate.
Yeah.
Can you go woo? You gonna get white girl wasted?
No.
We'll put on Journey for you if you're gonna dance.
You gotta play Sweet Caroline and have her do the ba 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 to it.
No, you have to put on some Joan Jett. I'll get crazy if you put on some Joan Jett. Yeah.
Oh.
Something I can yell really loud and off tune so nobody can hear the actual music. Yeah.
Weirdos. So.
Yeah, well, I know, but I just didn't pick up any limes. Sorry.
You gotta see, it's like the coronavirus. It's better if you get it with limes.
Lyme disease, yeah. Yeah. I do need to make a trip on base tomorrow for alcohol. And I'll probably go by the commissary too, because there's like restricted access to the commissary. So they probably still have fucking food, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody on base is already getting fed by the government one way or another. So I'm assuming that the commissary is better off than fucking Walmart and Food Lion. So I'll run down there. I'll get my liquor and maybe some beans or something. Like we need more. God.
Oh, you should have seen this shit. And because I made the mistake of going to the grocery store yesterday, and like I got there and it was just a madhouse just pulling into the parking lot. And all I wanted to get, like, seriously, all I was there for was like beer, and then like it was pie day, so they had a sale on pies. So I was gonna grab a pie and ice cream and beer, and that was all I was after. By the time I made it,
just
to
the essentials, right?
Yeah, just the essentials. But there were so many damn people in there. By the time I made it back to the back wall where most of the good beer is at, I didn't even want to get a pie and ice cream anymore. I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I don't want to deal with these people. I can't deal with these people. Like, I was literally going really loudly to get people out of my way.
Walmart was insane. I went there for potting soil like yesterday or the day before, and holy shit, I was so glad that all I needed was something from the fucking garden section.
Yeah, I went out I went out Wednesday. I had a doctor's appointment. Totally chill with the doctor, right? Like I walked in and there was like a nurse there, and she made me use hand sanitizer, and then she took my temperature. Right.
Yeah.
With the thermostat thingy, not with any other way. But
I'm gonna need you to bend over. We need to.
yeah, and then like none
Tell
of
us
the
the truth. You were a little disappointed.
she was cute. So anyway, so like none of the nurses had gloves on or masks on or anything like that. Like the place
Right.
didn't smell of disinfectant. And then I hit my local Rite Aid to renew my prescription, and like there was still toilet paper on this. The toilet paper was like 3/4 full. All the paper products were mostly full. There was like the bleach was full. All the disinfectants were disinfectant shelves were full. The beer was half empty.
Yeah.
I mean that's not unheard of from my area though. But so I picked up a few things that I needed there and bailed. And then my brother went to the same store on Saturday, and they had a line out the door. There was no paper products. All the canned foods were gone. And he ended up getting like some off-brand fat-free refried beans because it was all that was left, and we needed refried beans.
Oh.
Like,
fat-free refried beans.
yeah,
are
fat-free
fucking
refried
worst.
beans. I know.
Oh my god.
I put them in the shelf, and I try to forget about them. I'm trying not to use them.
The trick is you got to add fat back into them, like mix in some avocado oil or something. Like
Yeah,
that.
I got some bacon grease. I'm good. So
Yeah, definitely.
but yeah, and then so that was Saturday, and then yesterday my dad went to the local grocery store, and they had a line out the door. They had a police car at the door.
Oh Jesus.
They were letting people in, only a few people at a time, and then they had limits on all the paper products. And he said that the toilet paper and all that was completely empty. I live in a big area. There's like 130 something thousand people in my area, and then the next town over, which is where my dad lives, it was like 85,000. So there's 250,000 people in this area.
Yeah.
He said all the paper was gone. Most of the alcohol was gone. Most of the meat section was gone, and the frozen section was almost empty.
Jesus.
Why,
I'm so
people?
glad I'm a prepper.
Yeah.
Seriously.
See, I don't. I look at it this way. I don't even need to stock up on anything because I have a bunch of guns and ammunition. So
You're just gonna take everybody else's shit.
if I really need it, I'll find it.
Well, you won't find it at my house, Andrew, because we have guns and ammunition too.
Yep. Hashtag what was that one?
We're more effort than we're worth.
Fucking if you buy
F5.
Gucci gear and you don't train, you're a loot box.
Mhm.
Exactly, you're nothing but a loot box.
So yeah.
Yeah.
But
Boy,
yeah, that was
nice rifle. I think it's mine now.
Yeah.
416. What are you using in it? Is that a 22 conversion? Well, you can afford because you fought about a 416. So yeah, but they
Yeah,
just
shit's getting crazy out there.
Newsom here in California just ordered all the bars and restaurants to close. Or not restaurant, bars and clubs and wineries. Like the restaurants and fast food, they're still open.
See,
But
here in Wisconsin, like there has been one time that I can think of where like all of the bars closed, and that was when it was like, I think it was like 50 below ambient temperature, plus it was windy, and we got a massive snowstorm, and all of that right after that. So all of that combined, this bars actually closed just because there was going to be nobody there anyway.
Right.
But if the governor, if ever tried to order bars in Wisconsin to close, everyone would be like, cool story,
It'd
bro.
be fucking,
No.
that'd set off the boogaloo right there.
It would too. There would be riots. It would be insanity. Because there is no way we're giving up our bars, man.
yeah, Newsom also ordered the he signed an executive order saying that the state can take over hotels and motels if they have to force people into quarantine.
Jesus.
Mm-mm.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's scary, but it's not as scary as our first article.
Yep.
Segue. That was a nice segue. Decent
Good
segue.
segue. Yeah.
All right. Illinois mayor signs executive order granting power to ban sale of guns and alcohol while addressing coronavirus.
Like, how does that fucking address the coronavirus?
It's exactly what we were all warning people leading up to this hysteria, where we were saying, remember Katrina, remember the aftermath of that, where they were confiscating guns and they were herding people into camps and they were doing all of that. That's exactly what's going to happen again. And now that's exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So just I think somebody's head's going to explode. All right. Okay. The mayor of Champaign, Illinois, gave herself the power to ban the sale of guns and alcohol after declaring a citywide emergency to address the coronavirus.
Wait a second. Where do I get that fucking power? I want the power to give myself other powers.
It's like wishing for more wishes from a genie.
Yeah.
Mayor Deborah Frank Feenan signed an executive order on Thursday declaring a state of emergency for the city. That executive order, which is in line with the municipal code, comes with extraordinary powers for the mayor to enact over a short period of time as the city combats the spread of coronavirus.
Jeez.
Among the powers Feenan gained after signing the executive order was the power to ban the sale of guns, ammunition, alcohol, and gasoline. Feenan could also cut off access to individuals' gas, water, or electricity. The city has the ability to, quote, take possession of private property or order the temporary closing of all bars and liquor stores.
Jesus Christ.
So they can take away your ability to go anywhere by restricting the sale of gasoline, take away your ability to defend yourself by restricting the sale of weapons, take away your ability to not give a fuck about those things by banning the sale of liquor, and then they can take away...
Shut off your electricity, your gas, and your water?
Yeah, they can make your house unlivable so that you have to go, and at that point, you are now desperate for shelter, which means that they can herd you into whatever camp they want.
Yep. Hold on.
I'm telling you, look, my house without electricity and running water is not unlivable. All right? I'm just saying. I've got backups in place for every fucking thing.
So, all right. Okay, all right. I'm trying to woo up. Okay. Jeff Hamilton, the city's manager, says, quote, the executive order allows the city to be flexible to properly respond to the emergency needs of our community. None of the options will necessarily be implemented, but are available in order to protect the welfare and safety of our community if needed, end quote.
That sounds like all the other bullshit they fucking pushed through over the years. We're not going to use this. This is just in case.
It's for your safety.
Right. They always end up fucking using it.
Well, and it's only temporary powers that are going to conveniently become permanent.
That they keep extending with a fucking new executive order every year.
Okay. Quote, the city will keep the public's best interest in mind as we continue to work alongside public health officials and countrywide leaders, the council said in a statement.
Just take our word for it.
Yeah, quote, we understand this is a challenging time, but working collaboratively as a community is the best approach to combating the virus.
You must not be counter-revolutionary, comrade. We must all come together.
Yeah. That sounds a little bit like communism to me.
Champaign, Illinois is 134 miles from Chicago. I looked it up yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 4.5, 5 hours to Chicago from here, and probably like 6 to 8 to get to Champaign. Illinois is the next state down from me, so it's just the next one.
Yeah. Okay. The city also released a statement claiming that the council and the mayor would only take the steps, quote, necessary to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the city.
You know what? I'm not afraid of this fucking virus. I'm afraid of, one, the government response to this virus, and two, panicked fucking people fleeing metropolitan areas for areas like where I live, thinking they can survive better out here. That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, there are people literally bugging out right now.
Yeah.
I'd bug out of Illinois too.
Yeah.
I'm getting the fuck out of here. See ya.
I'd bug out of Chicago also, yeah.
Like,
Well,
I'm
and all of
sorry,
our-
I've been planning for something like this for years.
Well,
It's
yeah,
one of the
and
reasons
everybody-
I live in the sticks.
Yeah.
So, lack of planning on your part doesn't constitute an emergency on my part.
Well, and that's what I've been saying too, is like you realize that all of the preppers are basically looking at this and going, ha, morons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I knew this shit was coming
I
eventually.
don't know.
People looked at me like I was nuts, and now abracadabra, all of a sudden.
I'm not laughing by any means. I'm not saying I told you so, but I
Right.
definitely feel justified in the things that I had, or vindicated. That's the right
Yeah.
word.
Yep.
I definitely feel vindicated in the things that I've done, and the number of times I've been called crazy and paranoid and a conspiracy theorist
Or
and all that other
fringe
stuff.
for homeschooling. Guess what? Now you're all fucking
Yep.
homeschooling.
Well, yeah, and it's, and all of the people who have been bringing, like, and this is, I don't think enough people are bringing up consistently enough Agenda 2130
Mhm.
Yeah.
at this point. Like, not enough people are bringing it up, and we need to be really reminding people of that throughout this, because everything that's happening is that playbook. So you need to be bringing it up consistently to people who might not know what it is, and encouraging them to go look more into it and actually read it and find out what the hell it says. So that, because right now is a really good point to really push that and be like, see, look, you're seeing it all right now. So if anyone ever tells you, oh no, that's never going to happen, you're watching it all happen right now.
Yeah.
We can even, we can throw away these articles, and just climb into that, because the 2130, like, if you combine it with something like Cloward Piven, right? 2130 goes into effect, and all these businesses are shutting down. People are being forced quarantine. Local small businesses, mom and pops, they can't survive this.
No.
Nope, they don't have.
No.
They,
This
they
is
do
going to
not
cause
have the capital.
This is going to
Mhm.
cause a massive centralization in the hands of the government and the big
Yep.
corporations.
Well, and you're also seeing them. They're recommending, and they're still like with in my business world. There's a lot of concern because we're such a hardcore cash business. There's concern that if they decide to like ban cash and stop allowing cash transactions, like what the hell do we do
Yeah.
at that point? And and then Trump going, oh, well, don't worry, you'll still get paid and everything will be fine and we'll come up with something, and it's all this nice movement towards this fun little, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, let's
And they're like, this is basically UBI.
They're already-
Like, some of their proposals are basically UBI, but fucking sideways.
They're already
know.
talking about bailing out the domestic oil producers.
Yeah, because of the oil wars going on right now.
Like the U.S. is a net producer of oil. The U.S. exports more oil than it brings in.
yes.
Right.
Okay. And so OPEC has issues, and the bill collapses. And
I've never understood how that makes sense. If we're exporting more than we bring in, why are we bringing in anything? Why don't we fucking produce?
Because
because
we can't ship it.
Saudi Arabia is our ally.
Well,
Yeah,
and
but
because
so
you
the
can't
fuck
ship
what?
it. You can't ship, like, so if you're trying to ship from Alaska to
Right.
mainland US, but you're using a foreign ship, like let's say it's an oil company that only has foreign flagged ships, they actually can't, if it picks up the oil in Alaska, bring it into the continental US. It's illegal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So why even like this is so much harder than it fucking has to be because of government. Just like
Yeah.
everything else. Government makes this shit so much fucking harder than it has to be.
It's harder, it's more expensive, it makes less sense, there's far more hoops to jump through. There's no justification economically for government to exist. None.
No, none. And there's a lot of economic reason for government not to exist. It's not even like, is there justification or not? There's a lot of strong evidence that government should not fucking exist. It's like the other direction.
Well, yeah, and then you have the Fed talking about basically what amounts to QE4.
$1.5 trillion.
Yeah.
And then they also cut the rate is now down to 0 or 0.25%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that sounds awful familiar. It seems like about 12 years ago we went through this same song and dance with the 0% and subprime. And gosh, where did that lead? Did that lead to anything good economically?
12 years ago. That sounds like about the time we bought our first house.
Yeah, gosh, it's almost, yeah, I seem to remember a lot of people buying houses and things and something to do with housing back then. I don't know, it's all a little foggy.
Oh, no, we waited until after they all fucking lost their houses to buy ours.
A lot of cheap housing out there, not because it was artificially cheap, because it was cheap.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the exact same thing. And like, I talked to a guy the other day who's been on unemployment, right? Lost his job. He's been on unemployment. And because of the coronavirus thing shutting down government offices here in Wisconsin, like we just closed all of our schools. They're all closed until like for the next like month and a half or whatever that Ever's closed them. Where he's like, I can't even get my benefits because they're requiring that I go and do this like reemployment like education thing that I have to go to, but they're not offering it because they're closed due to the coronavirus thing. So I just don't get any money.
Yeah. Like our friend Leanne. She applied for a job and she went through orientation and she went through a little bit of training, and then they told her today, "Oh, sorry, we're not hiring because of Corona."
Jeez.
Sorry, never mind. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Oops. Like
and this is just beginning, y'all.
It's just starting. If you don't have stuff stocked up, and that's where this stocking up does make sense, is that if you don't have stuff stocked up, as our economy continues to tank, things are going to get more scarce and more expensive, and obtaining the capital to purchase them with is going to get steadily harder.
Yeah.
If you can purchase it. Like I was just talking to my friend Sarah in Wyoming. You guys know her. I talked to her before.
Yeah.
They just closed the schools in Wyoming. Wyoming, right? I mean, we're not here in California or New York. Like Wyoming just closed the schools. And her first thought is, what about all the small businesses?
Right.
They can't survive. They can't survive this.
Nope.
Like
even large businesses are facing
Walmart will do fine. Their stock might take a bump, but who cares? Like they'll do fine. Right. But mom and pop on the corner, like the local barbecue joint, they're fucked.
Yeah. Well, and then what happens to all the people that they employed? What happens to the people who depended on that for money? I mean, that's been my and my coworkers' concern with if we have to shut down because of coronavirus. Like, okay, but how do I make any money to buy things? Like, I don't make enough to have savings. Like, I just don't. That's not a reality for me. So what do? I don't have anything saved up. I don't have anything set aside. What am I supposed to do at that point? I got nothing.
Right.
And I didn't really have too much of a choice about it. It's not like I was being super irresponsible with my money. I just didn't have enough to even really pay my bills consistently. Like, I just don't make it up.
The U.S. was already entering a recession before this happened. And this is, I mean, like, we might be looking at another Great Depression here.
Well, yeah, we came real close to what they had on Black Tuesday the other day when the stock market halted trading.
Like 2,000 points or something like that?
Yeah, 2,000. Yeah. It was 2,000 like 2 days in a row that it dropped. Yeah, it was huge. And I mean, it's recovered slightly, but only slightly did it rally. So, I mean, that's... And what happens if the petrodollar becomes valueless?
Let's see. As of 2 hours ago, Dow futures are already down 1,000 points.
Yeah.
So Monday is going to be another suspended trading day. So
yeah. So this is like, and then you have the fucking gas price war right now, which is driving gas prices way down, which weakens the petrodollar, of course. This is like a fucking perfect storm.
But you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, but you can't even buy the gas, even though it's cheap, because they're going to suspend purchases. And I guarantee you that is probably why some of that was included there, was because if they can stop people from buying the fuel while the rates are low, they're hoping to save something there and artificially
So
And it's ridiculous because I mean the whole reason that the Saudis even did what they did is because the Saudis are broke.
Yeah.
I mean they're very close to freaking broke, and so that was a last ditch effort. My guess is it's a last ditch effort, hoping that the United States will intervene and do something, but it's backfiring because the United States is just getting crippled.
Yeah.
Austria just banned all gatherings of more than 5 people.
Jesus. Like my house is banned then.
Yeah, like, what? Are you kidding me? Like,
5 people. 5.
Jeez.
remember, that's
California's 50. Like they closed my brother's church because California banned over 50. Massachusetts, they put out an order banning gatherings over 25.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that doesn't sound all that bad to me because I don't like gatherings anyways.
Well, it also prevents any kind of protests or rallies or
Right.
marches, things like that, because you can't have that many people together. It's illegal, and they can just arrest you immediately if you try.
Mhm.
Like, it's a preemptive thing, with as much as it sounds like, oh, well, we're just trying to keep too many people from interacting so that the virus can't spread from this large interaction.
It's
There's
awfully
a
convenient
darker-
timing too when the Boogaloo talk was on the rise and
Mhm.
people were getting fed up.
Yep. And now they've assassinated a Boog Boy.
Yep.
Straight up assassinated him. He was asleep in his house with his pregnant girlfriend, and they just fired into his house from outside.
You want to jump on that article before the other one?
Yeah, I want that because it was just a really good segue there. So
Yeah.
we should talk about that one.
We are kings of the segue
Yeah.
because we're so professional with everything. So yeah, lawyer says man killed by officer was asleep when police fired. Maryland man who was shot and killed by a police officer was asleep in his bedroom when police opened fire from outside his house. An attorney for the 21-year-old man's family said Friday the man's pregnant girlfriend was also wounded. The article doesn't say pregnant, but it's been confirmed she's pregnant. The Montgomery County Police Department said in a news release Friday that Duncan Socrates Lemp, quote, confronted police and was shot by one of the officers early Thursday. Renee Sandler, an attorney for Lemp's relatives, said eyewitness gave a completely contrary account of the shooting. She said police could have absolutely no justification for shooting Lemp based on what she has heard about the circumstances. Quote, the facts as I understand them from eyewitnesses are incredibly concerning. The warrant that police obtained to search the Potomac home Lemp shared with his parents and 19-year-old brother didn't mention any, quote, imminent threat to law enforcement or the public. Lemp's relatives said in a statement released Friday by their lawyers, nobody in the house that morning had a criminal record, the statement adds. Quote, any attempt by the police to shift responsibility onto Duncan or his family who were sleeping when the police fired shots into their home is not supported by the facts. Police department spokesman didn't immediately respond to statements by the family or their lawyer. The department's news release on Friday said tactical unit members were serving a, quote, high-risk search warrant around 4:30 a.m. when one of the unit's officers fatally shot Lemp. Police detectives recovered 3 rifles and 2 handguns from the home. Lemp was prohibited from possessing firearms. Detectives were following up on a complaint from the public that Lemp, though prohibited, was in possession of firearms, the release says without elaborating.
Complaints from the public.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Sandler, this is the lawyer, said the family believes police fired gunshots, not a flashbang or other projectile, from outside the home, including through Lemp's bedroom window where he and his girlfriend were sleeping. Nobody in the home heard any warnings or commands before police opened fire.
They literally just fucking did like a fucking drive-by, but standing there and shot up his fucking house and killed him.
The officer was placed on administrative leave, a standard
of
procedure
course.
after police shootings.
Paid vacation after assassination as a thank you for
Yeah.
his service to his masters, like a good
Yeah.
dog. It's a straight up assassination, is what it was.
It
an
is.
assassination.
Yeah, and then they talk about him a little bit. Cryptocurrency. They also talked about politics. He described Lemp as a libertarian who frequented the 4chan and Reddit message boards, site popular with internet trolls.
Of course.
Yeah.
Wasn't he working on end-to-end encryption for communications?
Yes.
Yes. He also Lemp's username on internet forum called My Militia. Someone who identified himself as Lemp posted under the username. Blah, blah, said he was an active 3%er and looking for local members and recruits. And then they talk about the 3% meaning, and they give the definition of 3% from the Anti-Defamation League.
Of course they do.
And then the article talks about him using the term boogaloo, which we talked about that article before. Said friends say they've never heard Lemp espouse any anti-government rhetoric. Sandler said Lemp was not part of any anti-government or militia-type group. Quote, he was pro-America, supported wholeheartedly all the protections of the Constitution.
That's why they had to assassinate him.
Yes.
That includes the Second Amendment, and so they had to assassinate him for that. Like, that is what they had to do. They knew they had to.
Yeah.
I'm just...
These are not okay times we live in.
Trying to goose Fraba a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's an important thing to remember, though, that they clearly have now demonstrated their absolute willingness to just assassinate us.
Yep.
They won't give you warnings. They won't give you warning shots. There isn't going to be a standoff. They're just going to kill you.
Not just to assassinate you, to enforce the law as it is written.
Right.
This is the same law that Massachusetts, just through an executive order, banned groupings over 25 people. If you have 27 people in a group, what's going to happen? The police going to arrest everybody? Or are they going to shoot somebody?
Yeah.
They'll just come in guns blazing.
Like, has anybody ever watched The Siege or The Contagion?
Yeah, The Siege is a really good one to bring up right now, especially. Like, that movie and...
National Guard, 7 different states. Florida just called him out also.
Yep.
So...
Oh, The Siege. You said The Siege, and I started thinking Under Siege, and I was like, what the fuck? Does that have to do with it?
No, Steven Seagal.
Calm down, Miss November.
My tits are bigger than hers.
Not Under Siege, The Siege with Denzel Washington and
Bruce Willis and
Willis, yeah. And it's also got what's his name? The guy who plays Monk. I can't.
Tony Shalhoub.
Tony Shalhoub. Yes. Yeah, I should remember that. He's from Milwaukee. Or Appleton, one of the two. But he's from Wisconsin in any case. But yeah, it's like it's got them in it, and anyone who hasn't seen it, it basically there's repeated terrorist attacks in New York, so they call out the National Guard and suspend habeas corpus and like put military like tanks on the Brooklyn Bridge and to isolate, like I think it's Queens, isn't it, that they're trying to isolate?
Something like that, yeah.
And they like isolate it with troops, and they start rounding up any military aged Arab person.
Huge ass internment camps.
Yeah, and put them in internment camps in a sports stadium, and then Denzel Washington, who's an FBI agent, winds up turning against it, and ultimately it ends in an armed standoff and blah blah blah. So it's really relevant here because we're going to see exactly the same kinds of things if the coronavirus either A, actually gets any worse, or B, the hysteria gets ramped up too much further. You're going to start seeing exactly that kind of thing happen.
Yeah. And hey, can I just tell everybody listening, if you're going to post something about martial law on Facebook, it's MARTIAL.
Yeah, it's not marital law.
I've seen that too.
And it's not Marshall, MARSHALL. Okay,
Oh.
It's MARTIAL.
Like it's the Old West.
God, Marshall.
All right.
Every time I see that like that, I hear the Because that's where the Ranger's gonna be. I don't know why. I don't know why that came up, but yeah.
They people really either A, they don't proofread very well, or B, they're just borderline illiterate.
And okay, the word martial is anything in reference to military. All right. And it is MARTIAL. Marshal with an SH. That is like, air marshals and fire marshals.
In a college in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
and that guy from How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
On, exactly. Know the difference. And it's not marital law, MARI.
Yeah, marital law.
It's not marital law. We're not talking about whether or not something's community property or how it's going to be split up when the parents go their separate ways. Like that isn't talking about either.
I just brought up How I Met Your Mother on the podcast.
You did. You did.
I'm sorry, America. So, speaking of that, we're going to do the article out of Massachusetts because it's the most recent one, but California has instituted this. Illinois also instituted it, and there's been a couple of municipalities that have also instituted it. But Governor Baker closes schools, restricts restaurants, bans gatherings over 25 as community spread coronavirus seen in 7 Massachusetts counties. Governor Charlie Baker on Sunday night ordered all public and private schools across Massachusetts closed for 3 weeks, beginning Tuesday. Why would it begin on Tuesday? All right.
I don't know, to try to give people a chance to arrange childcare, or I don't know.
Okay. It has limited all restaurants to only takeout and delivery.
But only if they have X amount of employees, because if there are too many employees in there, then they're still violating the law. So
yeah. So Tuesday, the most sweeping action. Okay. Amid the rapid fire set of orders from a podium in the State House during the rare Sunday. Okay. Baker also lowered the threshold for any public gathering from 250 person limit he set last week to 25. His actions amount to some of the most aggressive responses in the country. The new limit applies to all community, civic, public, leisure, faith-based events, as well as sporting events with spectators, concerts, or conventions. It also covers fitness centers, private clubs, and theaters.
Can't have people going out working out; they might spread the virus.
Quote: If we take divisive steps now, and everyone plays their part by following the best medical guidelines, we can slow down this spread, he said. Governor stressed that grocery stores and pharmacies will still remain open, pleaded with people not to hoard, and again noted that stores were getting regularly restocked. Trump removed the restrictions on the number of hours a driver can do in a single day. I don't remember what it was, but like they had to stop like 8 hours for every 12 hours or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but
not that anyone ever actually does. It's just how can you fudge your logbooks?
Exactly. So the new restrictions on schools, restaurants, and large gatherings will be lifted April 6th. So
yeah. Well, yeah, Governor Northam shut down all the schools in Virginia until like March 30th or something.
Mm-hmm. Ever shut down the schools. Here is threatening to shut down other stuff. The funny thing is they even shut down the colleges, like all the universities and everything else are shut down too. And so there are a whole bunch of students who are like did protests and things over it.
There was in Ohio. There was
yeah.
like they call it a riot, but it really was just a large party. But
yeah, because they're like, dude, I literally paid an enormous amount of money for this dubiously useful piece of paper, and now you're not even going to give me you're going to push that off, and I'm not going to get refunded for that time. That isn't going to be something that I get money back for. So what the hell? Like, I understand why they're pissed. Like, that's complete bullshit. Like, oh nope, sorry, government says I have to take your money and just not give you anything in return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Declan's soccer practices are canceled as long as school's canceled.
Hmm.
And Micah's trade school classes are canceled for the duration.
Oh.
And karate for Kevin and Caleb. So but that's the only impact this has had on our family. Our extracurricular activities are canceled right now.
Yeah.
That's it.
Governor Newsom just signed, this was today, called for all bars, wineries, nightclubs, and brew pubs to close. And the state will also reduce occupancy in restaurants by half to keep people further away from each other. Quote, we require social distancing in these establishments.
Social distancing.
And then
look, I'm good with it if it's voluntary.
This is what is this? The Napa Valley Register. Halfway down, there's an ad for toilet paper.
Overstock
That's targeted
has
advertising.
pushed their toilet paper ads to the top of their fucking their advertising priorities. Because every time Overstock shows up in my newsfeed, it's always toilet paper now.
All right, and in California, the new orders are, quote, guidelines that, quote, we have the capacity to enforce if necessary.
How
if
is
you
that
can
a
enforce
guideline?
it, it's not a guideline.
Yeah, that's not a guideline. They're really more like guidelines.
Yeah.
That's a fucking rule. That's an order at that point. If you get punished for not, no, it's just a suggestion. But
what they're saying is we're asking for now.
Yeah. Don't make us tell you.
Yeah. I do that to my kids all the time. But we're not kids. We're fucking grown ass people.
God.
Sometimes.
Well, in Wisconsin, with the school thing, just drives me nuts because we have a total right now of 33 cases across the entire state, and it's across 3 counties in the southeast part of the state.
Yeah, Virginia has like 19 cases.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
What? It isn't. It's not like it's an epidemic, people. What
is it? 3,000 cases nationwide.
Yeah, it's not like it's the fucking plague or anything.
352 million people. There's 3,000 cases.
And there's, and then consider that the flu gets more people sick and kills more people annually than this thing has.
The flu annually kills 20,000 people.
Yeah. No, I heard 60. Isn't it 60?
I think it might be 60 worldwide. I don't know, but I think it's like 20,000 people in the U.S.
Yeah. But they don't every time flu season rolls around shut down schools and close, all these orders.
In fact, the schools will send you a nasty gram at fucking letter home if you take your kid out of school for a week for the flu. Yeah. They want your kid to still attend if their fever's below like 101.4.
Speaking of school. Student suspended from school for selling squirts of hand sanitizer to classmates.
I love that kid.
Oh,
there's a hustle.
There's a line. There's a line in here, and I'm gonna fucking die when I read it. Okay. Coronavirus panic reaches favorite page. Okay, blah 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 blah. Includes one teenager in the UK who was sent home from school for the day for selling squirts of hand sanitizer to his friends at Dixon's Unity Academy in Leeds. Jenny Tompkins posted her son's money-making scheme on Facebook Wednesday, where it amassed nearly 198,000 reactions and 98,000 comments, much of which praised the entrepreneurial savvy.
Capitalism.
Hold on. Okay. Quote, very hard to discipline this behavior when your dad phones from work to call him a
son of fucking legend.
Yeah, to call him a explicitive legend.
Fucking legend. His dad called him to call him a fucking legend.
Oh,
yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, one poster called him a, quote, very enterprising lad. In all, he made just over $11 from the grift after selling each squirt for 64 cents. What were the proceeds being used for? Tompkins said he purchased a bag of Doritos and plans to buy a kebab with the rest of the cash.
Doritos and a kebab.
Like, I don't go. Yeah, that's fucking gangster.
The sweet taste of victory.
Let's see. Let's go to the Facebook. See how many times it's been shared and reacted to. Let's see. Over 227,000 reactions and over 200,000 shares.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's a good segue into the article about the guy with 17,000 bottles of hand sanitizer in his garage.
Yeah, let's see that.
Yeah, don't
Okay.
go overboard, kid, because
Yeah.
something might happen, and then you're stuck
Right.
with a product
Wow.
you can't move.
Mom is
That's
cute.
right.
All right, the post says, this is a picture of my teenage son just getting home from school. Why is he getting home from school at 10:53 a.m., you ask? School doesn't finish till 3 p.m. Well, the little turd was just expelled from school for
Little
the day
turd.
after being caught charging students 50p. What is that? 50
Pence. Yeah.
A squirt for hand sanitizer to protect themselves from the bloody coronavirus. Very hard to discipline this behavior when his dad phones him from work to call him a fucking legend.
Nice. That's fucking awesome.
Oh, that's some bangerang.
It's just like, that is incredible. Like, he saw, see a need, fill a need.
Fill a need. Yeah. Yeah, that kid watched Robots when he was little.
And he was like, "Yeah, I know just what to do here."
Yep.
If you've seen too the pictures of it, it's like these little plastic baggies of
Yes,
hand sanitizer.
I've seen those ones. That's
Oh, it's because he put it in baggies. That's like drug dealer stuff. That's hilarious.
Yo, man, what you need? You got any of that TP and then hand sanitizer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Speaking of hand, let's do the hand sanitizer one because Derek brought it up.
Yeah.
All right, this. I don't know what to call this one. Like this is capitalism at its finest, or I don't know if it's finest, but it's dirtiest, or instant karma, whichever one.
This is what people who don't understand economics call price gouging.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And then the market responded.
Yeah.
So he has 17,700 bottles of hand sanitizer and nowhere to sell them.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt Colvin. On March 1st, the day after the first coronavirus death in the United States, brothers Matt and Noah Colvin set out in their silver SUV to pick up some hand sanitizer. Driving around Chattanooga, Tennessee, they hit a Dollar Tree, then a Walmart, a Staples, and a Home Depot. At each store, they cleaned out the shelves. Over the next 3 days, Nova Colvin took 1,300-mile road trip across Tennessee and into Kentucky, filling a U-Haul truck with thousands of bottles of hand sanitizer and thousands of packs of antibacterial wipes, mostly from, quote, little hole-in-the-wall dollar stores in the backwoods, his brother said. The major metro areas were already cleaned out. Matt Colvin stayed home near Chattanooga, preparing for pallets of even more wipes and sanitizer he had ordered and starting to list them on Amazon. Colvin had posted 300 bottles of hand sanitizer and immediately sold them all between $8 and $70 each, multiple times higher than what he had bought them. To him, quote, it was crazy money. To others, it was profiteering from a pandemic.
It's not profiteering, it's supply and demand. My God.
That's exactly it too. And like, I posted that post about the price gouging and how people don't understand that price gouging that
prevents hoarding.
Prevents hoarding, and it allows a supply to go further through a population.
Like those people sitting at home right now with like 50 rolls of toilet paper, you think they would have bought that if the stores had jacked up the price to meet demand?
Well, I mean, I have a lot of toilet paper in my house, but I have gathered that over probably the last year. We moved in here and I finally got our storage. Yeah.
So okay.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's different if you're doing it over time. A lot of these people, they stocked up. They bought, somebody who's like a single individual living at home now has 30 cases of Charmin sitting there, and then there are families who need toilet paper, who are out, who can't find it anywhere because everybody bought it all.
Oh, yes. And for our viewers, I just opened my Corona with a 50 cal casing. Yes, I did.
With a 50 BMG case, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. 50,
the next day, Amazon pulled his items and thousands of others listing sanitizer wipes and face masks. The company suspended some of the sellers behind the listing and warned many others that if they kept running up prices, they would lose their accounts. eBay soon followed, and with even stricter measures prohibiting any U.S. sales of masks or sanitizer.
There's still Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, kids.
So now, no matter how desperate you are to get these things, no matter how much you're willing to pay for them, they're just not going to be available, no matter what.
Yep.
because the
Yeah,
people who have them can't move them because too many other people misunderstand emergency fucking economics.
Yep. If only he had a his own little private website and contacted Agris Hosting, I'm sure they would love to do it. Okay. Now, why millions of people search in vain for hand sanitizer to protect themselves from the spread of coronavirus? Colvin is sitting on 17,700 bottles of the stuff with little idea where to sell them. Quote, it's been a huge amount of whiplash, he said. Quote, from being in a situation where what I've got coming and going could potentially put my family in a really good place financially, to where the heck am I going to do with all this stuff? Colvin
And I know a lot of people who do this kind of e-commerce thing where they stock up on something really cheap and then they sell it for like the regular price or a little more to compensate for shipping. You know,
Yep.
they buy it on sale or from like, wholesale or whatever. And that's a legit fucking business model. It moves goods to places where they're less available.
That's literally how most businesses actually operate.
Yeah. Right.
So they buy
that's
cheap
what
and then
he is.
sell high.
He is a reseller. Like that's yeah.
And
Colvin
it's not like he did this just because of the coronavirus. This is his fucking business. Is doing this with any good he comes across that he can get cheap and that people need or want.
Yeah,
So.
and look at where he bought it all, right? He bought it from all these tiny little out of the way stores with very, very few customers normally. Bought it all out, and then in the cities where it's not available, he brought all of that in, and now they can obtain it.
Right.
Like that's a necessary economic process.
Right, and shipping it is more expensive and all that.
And with that kind of volume, 17,700 bottles, like he could set his own price lower than what the other guys are selling for, and create a niche market for himself and sell out quickly. Right. I mean, like if these bottles cost $1 a piece, he could sell them for $5 right now, and literally sell out in a day.
Right.
But
and the people you're selling to are going to be hoarding it for themselves at that price,
and then probably trying to resell it.
Yeah. So you're going to have less customers, less of this thing that people really want and need right now, getting into the hands of just like individuals in just the amounts they might need. If you're selling it too low, you're going to have a couple customers who are then going to hoard it, and less people will have access to it. So, I mean, you sell it high so that people buy less, maybe just what they need, not, enough to keep it out of the hands of other people.
Right.
So, bad economics.
Yeah.
Bad ideas. So,
yeah. You guys know Ryan Scott, right? On Facebook. He put up a post, I guess, on his local market that he was selling homemade bread for $10 a loaf. And he had so many people comment on that in like this group that he posted it in, calling him evil, telling him to choke on his fucking bread, telling him he's price gouging. $10 a loaf for homemade bread.
Yeah, it's not
is what you normally would pay someone for homemade fucking bread.
That's
yeah.
That's a completely normal price
for a loaf of homemade fucking bread.
Yep. People are retarded.
Yeah.
Which if you can tell by the reactions, this is established. All right.
Yeah. Good Lord. Well, and that's the thing is that you have too much. I mean, you have the state that gets 12 years of mandatory education where they can reinforce all these socialist ideas, and the ideas that government should set maximum prices and that nobody should have the ability to make more money than I do on a product and things like. And this is all hammered into people's heads, and so then it's just this internalized thing that they just think that
and
that this is somehow wrong because they don't bother to ever study economics on their own independently.
Well, not only that, but like the language that they used, that the mayor used in Illinois, the language that the governor used in Massachusetts, The language that Governor Newsom used, the language that Trump uses. He uses words like we and community and greater good and collectively.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That is, they're willing to sacrifice the individual for the community, but they're supposed to be about minorities. They're supposed to be about minorities, but the smallest minority is the individual, but they don't care about that because they're assholes and they're retarded.
Yes, they are.
So, all right, I got one more article about this stuff, and this is probably the most scariest one to me, because I see it has the biggest repercussions. And there have been several cities. This article's out of Lansing, and I'm only doing the Lansing article because it actually has a enumerated list. But Denver, I've seen. Here in California, there's been a few cities. I think Virginia had one. Florida had a few. New York had one also, but it's Lansing police won't be responding in person to most property crimes due to coronavirus.
Yeah.
Right. Which sounds like an anarchist paradise to me, right? But
but they'll still prosecute you if you fucking respond to it.
Yeah. Not everybody thinks like we do. Okay. All right. Lansing police officers will not respond in person to most property riots and financial crimes until further notice due to COVID-19. In order to protect officers and community members during the COVID-19 outbreak, LPD will not be responding in person to take the following crimes: larceny, malicious destruction of property, retail frauds with no suspect or evidence, where the value is under $1,000.
Jeez.
Attempted breaking and entering of unoccupied buildings, including garages and foreclosed homes. Identification thefts where the victim was not...
garages? Like on your property, but since you don't live in your fucking garage...
Yeah, then they won't respond to it.
Jesus.
Yes.
So, you know, squatters
paradise.
Yeah. No
all of the copper suddenly is going to...
Identification thefts where the victim was not financially harmed or the financial institution has been reimbursed by the victim for the loss.
They barely respond to those now.
Yeah,
fraud like they do shit.
Fraud of unauthorized credit card use where the venue of the crime is outside Lansing. Harassing communications, lost property.
Huh.
So if you're a crazy stalker, apparently now is the time in Lansing to decide to be a crazy stalker actively. Like what? And this, and you know, the thing is this is gonna this is what they're saying they're gonna do, and I can almost guarantee you that almost nothing changes at all with those crimes.
Whatsoever.
Well, hold on. Okay.
Because all they do with any of that shit anyways is show up and fucking write a report.
Yep.
Yeah. Larceny and malicious destruction of property and retail frauds where the value is under $1,000. Larceny, as we know, is theft, right? So the theft or malicious destruction of property under $1,000.
Yeah, so that gives you time to get to your fence and get the hot goods out of your hands. And, you know.
Well, not only that, but like, if I were to steal your generator, or someone were to steal your generator is valued at less than $1,000, right?
Right.
The police aren't going to come out.
Right.
Yeah, they won't even bother to show up, which is only barely a change from the way things are, and anyway. But somebody just stole stuff from me. Yeah, we'll be out there sometime next week between the hours.
Yeah, like the fucking cable company.
Yeah, that's basically what the way cops work with theft anyway. They don't care.
Yeah.
So, but like, see, this is where my little conspiracy mind goes to, and I don't know, it's because I read too many books, like 299-day book series. But the people that do these kind of crimes, the police aren't responding, so they're going to be emboldened by the police not responding. The people that do the lighter crimes, they're going to see that, and they're also going to be emboldened. The people on the fence, right? Yeah. The fringe, and the
now's
people
the time to start. Right?
Now's the time to start because the police aren't going to respond. Like they can literally get away with it.
Yeah.
That's right, and that's going to like.
And it would be meaningless if the cops weren't going to do anything if they would allow you to do something yourself.
Right.
But they
that's
won't.
the
So
rub.
yeah, so you can be damn sure that they're not going to respond to somebody breaking into your garage and stealing shit. But if you go out there and shoot them, now they're going to respond.
Or beat that person up. Yeah.
Absolutely. If you go full roof Korean, they're definitely gonna come out and they're gonna fucking shoot you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
They won't help you, but they'll certainly punish you.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, they're not gonna
How
help,
much-
but they'll punish you for helping yourself.
yeah, and it's monetary value, right? That's what they're talking about, is under $1,000 monetary value, right? Well, the food in your house isn't worth $1,000. Isn't worth monetarily. It's not worth $1,000.
I beg to
Right.
differ, but that's just my house.
Just for
The
shits and
average person.
Yeah,
Right.
just for shits and giggles. All right. So say you have under $1,000 worth of food in your house. Somebody breaks in, takes all the food out of your house. Now you're out of food. The
Yeah.
stores are fucked. You can't go anywhere because they stopped selling gas or whatever else. Or you can't get to the store for medication because the pharmacy closed. Or whatever else. And now they're not going to come out and investigate. They're not going to try and help you.
Right.
Yep. So what do you? In that situation, you're just fucked.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're absolutely fucked. Somebody steals the chickens out of your backyard. Those monetarily, those aren't worth $1,000. So
Yep. So they don't care. Oh well.
You could make a case that they are, but they wouldn't care. how
they're
you
not.
value
They're
it.
not. They're not going to
They
come
don't
out.
care
and
about
report.
like long-term economic impact.
Nope.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys, you understand where I was going with that, right?
Yeah.
Right, where my little dark mind was going.
hmm
But this also creates a tremendous opportunity for anarchists and for liberty-minded people and for preppers to build a community within their little area. They
Yeah.
go talk to their neighbors, talk to the older couple up the street, ask them if they need something to help them out the best you can. Neighborhood watch.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah, we
You
have a
don't-
neighborhood Facebook group in my neighborhood.
yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
was already on there. I was like, hey, look, if anybody needs help with childcare gaps, like I'm talking like last resort desperation care, if you don't have like family that can help or friends or whatever, I'm home all day with my kids and I'll help you out. I just ask that you bring your kids food and label it with their names. That's it. And I can provide a safe environment and you can go to work if your employer's still making you come in.
Well, and there were people on Facebook who were talking about that I've seen two posts with people saying, well, if with the schools closed down and stuff, you're now, you were depending on your kids getting the free or reduced lunches and stuff. And now that's not an option for them to be able to get because school's closed. Hit me up and let me know. I'll bring food.
Right.
Like, I'll help you however I can. And that's what anarchists really need to be consistently doing is interacting with people. And especially now, you need to interact with your neighbors. You need to offer to help and make sure that you're reinforcing to them. You don't need the state because we have each other.
Right.
We got each other's backs. We don't need them to show up.
Right.
I've been a huge fan of mutual assistance groups.
Yep.
For a long. I talked about it with Nick on Enemy of the State Dink Podstash. I've talked about it with Jeremy long ago on Seeds of Liberty. But mutual assistance groups, like that's how they used to survive when shit was bad, and they're still very relevant. Just mutual assistance group. Look it up. Go talk to your neighbors.
Yeah. And like I said in my Facebook post, stop waiting for a hero that's not coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
Connect with your neighbors.
Yep. Killer great men.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's that saying in the special operations community, no one's coming, it's up to us.
Yeah.
Well,
And
even on top of that, the Supreme Court has ruled several times police have no obligation to protect you.
yeah,
Right.
none. So you can't even
So-
complain about them just going, no, we're not going to respond to that stuff because they're not under any legal obligation to anyway.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's why guns and ammo are flying off the shelves, except here in
Yeah.
California, where you have a 10 day fucking waiting period.
That's why guns and ammo were already on my shelves.
Yeah, like I said, I don't need to worry about hoarding anything because I hoarded the important stuff.
Hashtag winks and black market.
Yeah.
Well, that actually the Village Gunsmith that we share on Wolf all the time and stuff, their posts and everything. They're here in Elroy, Wisconsin, and they do an annual bulk ammo sale. So you can basically just barely above wholesale cost buy huge amounts of ammo. I bought last year, like 1,000 rounds of 300 blackout for like $140.
Yeah, stop. I got a semi.
So like they just have, I mean, they
got a chubby
out. Yeah, they set tables out in front of the store, and have just huge piles of ammunition on there.
Dude.
And you can buy whatever. But then they found out that somebody, like, people were talking about showing up, buying it all, and then reselling it when ammo starts getting scarce. So they wanted to buy it not for themselves and hoard for themselves, but just to then turn around and resell it. And they're like, that isn't what this is for. So they had to put in a limit up to like noon yesterday. Or today actually, there was a limit of 1 box per caliber per person to prevent that.
Dude,
so that it went around.
Do you follow the AK guy, Brandon Herrera?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. You should. He's a great follow, but he recently literally bought an AK factory. There's like an AK factory went out of business, and he literally bought the factory.
Oh,
nice.
Like tooling parts. He has enough that he said to make like 12,000 complete AKs or something like that. And then he also has all the tools and all the accessories to make more. But either way, he also in that setup was like 12,000 units of AR parts. Right.
Nice.
Well, he doesn't like ARs. He wanted to get rid of it.
So is he just selling them off?
Well, he talked to a couple of distributors, and he's like, yeah, I could sell it to you. And then they give him a price, and he's like, well, I can do that. Right. And instead of selling it to them, like today in South Carolina, he had like a 1 day, or yesterday, South Carolina, Saturday, he had an AR yard sale.
Nice.
And people literally got things for like half off, and
Wow.
I guess he sold out.
Yeah, I imagine he probably did.
People came from hundreds, and like there's like some people that came from like Arizona to South Carolina for this yard sale
just to buy a ton of AR parts.
Like literally half off, no dealer markup, like literally market value, like $160 barrels like you would buy off Cheaper Than Dirt for $80.
Wow.
Magazines, trigger groups, forearms, sights, stocks. I was just, God, I hate being in California.
Yeah, that would be sweet. I'd probably stock up on enough stuff to build another like 10.
Easily. But yeah,
I want to buy all this stuff. I can't really afford it, but when am I going to get this deal again? So we're going to go ahead and just buy all this crap.
Well, when the next salt whip ban is starting to be discussed, we can sell it and make all our money back. Oh, yeah. I have 17,700 AR parts and nowhere to sell them.
Well, I know a guy who he's currently stuck now because the nationwide magazine ban is no longer a thing that's really getting talked about, and hasn't been for a few years. When that was starting to get talked about and people were panic buying 30-round mags, he bought like retail cases from Magpul, like 6 retail on cases of 30-round mags, and then almost immediately after that is when that bill died, and so now mags, no one's panic buying mags
It'll
anymore.
Be back.
So
it'll be back.
But he's just like, he's like, so I'm just sitting on all these boxes, and he was like, dude, do you want like a box? I'll sell it to you for like $100 just to get it the hell out of my garage. Because he's like, these are huge boxes of mags.
Yeah,
I'm like,
they're
shelf
stable. They're shelf stable.
Yeah, they're polycarbonate. I mean, they're the polycarbonate metal. There's not anything else to them. Like, whatever. Then that's the same thing as that guy with the hand sanitizer. Like, you got to balance the going out and buying a whole bunch of stuff with, okay, well, it's a gamble though, because what happens if that big panic buy never
Unless you have
occurs?
like a shitload of room to store all this stuff for the next
Yeah.
time people are panic
Mhm.
buying it, you know.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and there are some people who have wound up with some serious coups on stuff, and like car parts too. I know lots of people that have bought, like, an auto parts store goes out of business, like a mom and pop auto parts store, and they just buy the whole stock and just let it sit there,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
that, you know, it becomes new old stock. So when the cars are now 40, 50 years old, I have a brand new one from the factory, still in the plastic.
Yeah.
I think that happened with a DeLorean factory in Detroit.
Huh.
There's a bunch of new DeLorean parts that came out.
Yeah, somebody's re-releasing original DMC DeLoreans again, and because they bought, yeah, it was like an entire factory worth of like the shells of the cars and the frames and everything, and they just started assembling them and selling them. So they're, 2 mile on the odometer DMC DeLoreans, but they're the original DMC DeLoreans, the original production run.
Right.
Flux capacitor not included.
Yeah,
Right.
no Mr. Fusion, no.
Right.
All right, let's get on to this one. Derica just absolutely begged us to cover. We were going to cover last week.
Yeah, but I forgot that it was Sunday last week.
Yeah, and I had the flu or possibly coronavirus.
Yeah.
Hashtag most professional podcast.
Yeah.
All right. Google tracked his bike ride past a burglarized home. That made him a suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. This is what, like 2 weeks old now, or 10 days old now, March 7th. Email arrived on Tuesday afternoon in January, startling Zachary McCoy as he prepared to leave for his job at a restaurant in Gainesville, Florida. It was from Google's legal investigation support team, writing to let him know that local police had demanded information related to his Google account. The company said it would release the data unless he went to court and tried to block it. He had just 7 days. Quote, I was hit with a really deep fear, said McCoy. Even though he couldn't think of anything he'd done wrong, he had an Android phone, which is linked to his Google account, and like millions of other Americans, he used an assortment of Google products, including Gmail and YouTube. Now police seemingly wanted access to all of it. Quote, I don't know what it was about, but I knew the police wanted to get something from me, McCoy said in a recent interview. Quote, I was afraid I was going to get charged with something. I didn't know what. There was one clue. In the notice from Google was a case number. McCoy searched for it on the Gainesville Police Department website and found a one-page investigation report on the burglary of an elder woman's home 10 months earlier. The crime had occurred less than a mile from the home that McCoy, who had recently earned his associate's degree in computer programming, shared with 2 others. Now McCoy was even more panicked and confused. He knew he had nothing to do with the break-in. He'd never even been to the victim's house, and he didn't know anyone who might have, and he didn't have much time to prove it.
Yeah.
McCoy worried that going straight to the police would lead to his arrest, so he went to his parents' home in St. Augustine, where, over dinner, he told them what was happening. They agreed to dip into their savings to pay for a lawyer. The lawyer, Caleb Keenan, dug around and learned that the notice had been prompted by a, quote, geofence warrant.
Yeah.
A police surveillance tool that cast a virtual dragnet over crime scenes, sweeping up Google location data drawn from users' GPS, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and cellular connections from everyone nearby.
Now, if I'm going to commit a crime, I'm probably not taking my fucking phone with me.
You're a reasonable person, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are plenty of people who are not smart enough to go, hey, I maybe should not have the mobile wiretap and tracking device in my pocket as I commit this crime.
Yeah.
Well, there was a guy recently that did a Facebook Live trying to sell a gun that had, quote, multiple bodies on it.
What a fucking idiot.
Just saying, people are idiots.
Ugh.
The
Dude,
warrants,
you deserve prison just for your stupidity at that point. Like, I'm okay with you going to prison now.
That's a straight Darwinism at that point.
Yeah. No, you deserve.
All right. The warrants, which have increased dramatically in the past 2 years, can help police find potential suspects when they have no leads. They also scoop up data from people who have nothing to do with the crime, often without their knowing, which Google itself has described as, quote, a significant incursion on privacy.
You think?
Gee.
Still
Imagine
confused,
that.
still confused and very worried, McCoy examined his phone. An avid biker, he used an exercise tracking app called Runkeeper to record his rides. The app relied on his phone's location services, which fed his movements to Google. He looked up the route the day, March 29th, 2019, burglary, and saw that he had passed the victim's house 3 times within an hour, part of his frequent loops through the neighborhood. Quote, it was a nightmare scenario, McCoy recalled. Quote, I was using an app to see how many miles I rode on my bike, and that was putting me at the scene of a crime, and I was the lead suspect.
Yeah.
Based on nothing but
a geofence fucking warrant where they were able to pull data from every Google device that was inside their fucking investigative geography.
Yes.
Seriously. This should scare the fucking shit out of people.
Yeah, it should. It definitely should. And
this
the
is
thing
like,
is,
this is so Orwellian, but the government didn't even have to place the cameras. We fucking willingly carry them around in our pockets.
well, yeah,
we did it to ourselves. We actually pay for them.
Yeah, we pay for the privilege of being continuously monitored. We buy Alexas and Google Homes so that we set up the wiretaps for them. We put Ring doorbells on our doors so that we have a camera there. I mean,
you will never see any of that shit in my house.
Oh yeah, and
cell phones are it for us.
Yeah, and even cell phones, like, and I've talked to people about, you know, the importance of having something that's a Faraday cage in your house. Having a Faraday cage is very important. And everyone looks at me like I'm nuts. And I'm like, but keep in mind with modern cell phones, fun fact, even if you turn it off, it is still tracking your GPS location.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. The victim was a 97-year-old woman who told police she was missing several pieces of jewelry, including an engagement ring worth more than $2,000. 4 days after she reported the crime, Gainesville police, looking for leads, went to the Alachua County judge with a warrant for Google. In it, they demanded the records of all devices using Google services that had been near the woman's house when the burglary was thought to have taken place. The first batch of data would not include any identifying information. Police would sift through it for devices that seemed suspicious and ask Google for names of the users. Keenan said police told him that they became particularly interested in McCoy's device after reviewing the first batch of anonymized data. They didn't know the identity of the device's owner, so they returned to Google for more information.
Interesting that they assumed that the burglar did not have an iPhone.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, like, that's interesting. Why would you assume that?
The Google triggered the January 14th notice that technology giant sent to McCoy, part of its general policy on notifying users about government requests for their information. The notice was McCoy's only indication that police wanted his data.
Wow.
Yeah. While police and civil liberty advocates have been concerned about geofence warrants violating constitutional protections for unreasonable searches, law enforcement authorities say those worries are overblown. They say police don't obtain any identifying information about a Google user until they find the device that draws their suspicion. And then the information alone is not enough to justify charging someone with a crime.
Suspicion is awfully subjective, though.
Yeah, and it's, oh, well, it doesn't violate anything because all we're doing is just pulling literally all of the location data for a 24-hour period from all of the people who may have passed near this given geographic location we arbitrarily determined the radius of. And we just, but we don't know who you are. We just know every fucking detail of your life. And if we decide after doing that, that you
to get your name, we just have to say that you were suspicious. And
Google geofence warrants have been used by police agencies around the country, including the FBI. Google said in a court filing last year that the requests from state and federal law enforcement authorities were increasing rapidly by more than 1,500% from 2017 to 2018, and by 500% from 2018 to 2019.
Because it's a nice, lazy way for them to get a fucking lead.
Quote, "It's a great tool and a great technology," says Kevin Amberster, a retired lieutenant with the Milwaukee Police Department, where he oversaw the use of high-tech investigative work, including geofence warrants.
Jesus.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, is, of course, they always say that.
Hold on. Okay, wait. I would think the majority of citizens in this world would love the fact that we are putting violent offenders in jail, Amberster said.
It's for your protection.
Right. But we have no duty to protect you.
Yeah, we have no duty to protect you and are absolutely no obligation to do so. But no, we're only violating everyone's privacy for their protection. It's just to keep you safe. So it's okay.
Right. It's not even to keep you safe. It's to find out who killed you to keep the community safe.
Yeah, it's all about that community and the collective good and...
Yep. Fucking commies.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's disgusting. And I mean, what the scariest thing about it is like, think about what they're literally just going, okay, I want to know the information for every single person who traveled.
And do you think they don't hold on to that? And if you're a suspect at a later date in something, they'll fucking bring up your history and try to turn it against you because they already have it?
Yeah.
You think they can't fucking do that?
Yeah. On January 31st, Keenan filed a motion in the Alachua County Civil Court to render the warrant, quote, null and void, and to block the release of any further information about McCoy, identifying him only as John Doe. At that point, Google had not turned over any data that identified McCoy, but would have done so if Keenan hadn't intervened. Keenan argued that the warrant was unconstitutional because it allowed police to conduct sweeping searches of phone data from untold numbers of people in order to find a single suspect.
Yeah.
That approach, Keenan said, flipped on its head the traditional method of seeking a search warrant in which police target a person they already suspect. Quote, "This geofence warrant effectively blindly cast a net backwards in time, hoping to ensnare a burglar. This concept is akin to the plot line in many a science fiction film featuring a dystopian fascist government."
Yep.
Gee, imagine that.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
pretty obvious that what we have is a dystopian fascist government. I mean,
yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
Right.
Gosh,
Okay.
it's just like being in a futuristic dystopian fascist world from a 1980s movie. Yeah, and when did they usually set those? The early 2000s. Hey, what do you know? Look at that. What a coincidence.
Yeah. The filings seem to give law enforcement authorities second thoughts about the warrant. Not long afterward, Keenan said a lawyer in the state's attorney's office assigned to represent the Gainesville Police Department told him that there were details in motion that had led them to believe that Keenan's client was not the burglar. The state attorney's office withdrew the warrant, asserting the court filing was no longer necessary. The office did not respond to a request for comment.
What a coincidence that all of them, no, we now that you've proven, because see, here's the thing is they do this shit and they hope that you can't afford a lawyer, that you can't file these motions, and then they can just accuse you of this, use dubious circumstantial evidence that they pulled from this.
Yep.
And you have to prove yourself innocent.
Yeah.
If you can't afford an attorney, you have no way to do that.
But the moment that you can defend yourself, they run scared because they're like, oh, crap, well, he wasn't an easy target. I guess we misjudged that. Let's move on.
Yep. They're fucking bullies. They're looking for easy targets.
Yeah, in the end, the same location data that raised police's suspicions of McCoy also helped vindicate him. Because they established, gave screenshots of his client's general Google location history, including data by Runkeeper. The map showed months of bike rides past the burglarized home.
Yeah. Well, you mean they couldn't get that when they were scooping up all the rest of his fucking data, and they didn't analyze it for that?
They didn't care about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they had access to that fucking data, and they just didn't give a shit, and they wanted to accuse him anyways.
Yep.
Yep.
Because why bother to actually do any real legwork and investigation and anything like that when you can just accuse somebody you know they can't defend themselves, and then you can just go, hey, look, we got a bust.
Yep.
See, community, you need us because we're keeping you safe.
Yep.
So fucking safe. So safe.
Yep.
I feel so safe. Like,
yeah.
Just
knowing
totally...
I can go to prison for something I'm completely innocent of, that makes me really fucking feel safe.
Best segue ever. After a state-authorized medical marijuana patient had an epileptic seizure and crashed her car, police arrested her for driving with marijuana in her system.
Yep. Yep. Because they don't know. There's no way to tell if you just have residual THC in your system or if you're actively high at the moment. There's no test sensitive enough for that. So, and this stuff stays in your system for up to 30 days.
Yeah.
So if at any time you get behind the wheel after smoking weed for the next 30 days and you get in an accident, even if it's not your fault, they're going to fucking drug test you, and then it becomes your fault because they just presume that you were high because it's still in your system.
You literally just stole all my thunder and summed up the entire article.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Beth Rep, a registered medical marijuana patient in Pennsylvania, crashed her car in Pittsburgh last September after suffering an epileptic seizure. Adding insult to injury, police arrested Rep and charged her with driving under the influence because blood tests showed marijuana in her system.
She's a medical marijuana patient for epilepsy, you fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Now Rep is challenging Pennsylvania's unjust and unscientific definition of stoned driving, which effectively criminalizes driving by anyone who uses medical marijuana in compliance with state law. Okay. Under Pennsylvania's DUI law, the defendant is automatically guilty of driving under the influence, a misdemeanor punishable by a 12-month license suspension, a maximum fine of $500 or $5,000, and up to 6 months in jail if he operates a motor vehicle with, quote, any amount of a Schedule I substance or metabolite of that substance in the blood. The definition is irrational on its face, since THC can be detected in blood long after its psychoactive effects have worn off, and metabolites can have no impact on drivability.
For anybody who doesn't know, who might be listening, who doesn't know, you smoke weed, you're high for 2 hours. That's it. 2 hours. I mean, that's the average person is high for 2 hours after smoking weed.
Yeah.
And then it's still in your system for 30 fucking days. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
According to Rep's lawyer, Patrick Nightingale, she consumed marijuana, quote, many hours before the accident. Her THC blood concentrate was 8.1 nanograms per milliliter, which is not unusual for a medical marijuana user and does not necessarily indicate impairment. THC levels are not a reliable indicator of impairment in general, and that is especially true when quote, any amount of THC or even its inactive metabolites is sufficient for a DUI conviction. I mean, THC can be detected in the blood of a daily cannabis user for up to a month after use.
And remember, she's using this for her seizures. I mean, it's pretty clear. Like, I don't think that needs to be said. Yeah, so she's using this as a medication. This is the equivalent of saying, well, you have to have or you took a muscle relaxer 3 days ago, and there's still a little bit of the residual stuff detectable. So clearly, it's your fault that you got into this accident now because of that single muscle relaxer you took 3 days ago.
And let me tell you something. As somebody who takes anti-seizure medications, right? I'm on anti-seizure meds because I get these horrible muscle spasms, these localized seizures that can last for weeks. Mm-hmm. It's like a Charlie horse that doesn't let go for a couple of weeks. Oh, it's fucking excruciating.
They feel fantastic.
Yeah, it's excruciating. I have one in my hip right now, just getting started. Let me tell you, marijuana is the most effective, safest way to deal with that has none of these horrible negative side effects like the drug gabapentin does, which is the other medication that I'm on for this.
Yeah.
Really, I can avoid all the gum problems and all the other fucking problems that Neurontin or gabapentin gives people, this horrible fucking pharmaceutical cocktail. I can avoid all the other health problems by just microdosing a little cannabis.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like, and this is such a boon for epileptics to have access to cannabis. Really, it is. They can live much more normal lives.
Yeah. What
Right.
is the one Charlotte's Web? That's the oil that's made in Colorado, and it was helping kids as young as 2 years old.
Mhm.
Right.
Just by putting it on the soles of their feet.
Be seizure free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is
Oh.
just a medication, and they're literally going, you took a medication that you needed at
Mhm.
some point in the past month. Therefore, even though you were in the process of having a seizure when this occurred,
Yep.
Yeah.
it's your fault.
And if
Yeah.
you had been driving under the influence of your medicine, you probably wouldn't have had
Not
that
have
had
seizure
seizure.
and gotten in an
Yeah.
accident.
All right. Under Pennsylvania's zero tolerance standard, any patient who regularly uses marijuana for symptoms relief will always be breaking the law when he drives. Quote, we have over 200,000 patients registered in Pennsylvania right now, Nightingale told NBC affiliate in Pittsburgh. Quote, and every single one of them is DUI 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year if they're using medical cannabis under Pennsylvania law.
Mhm.
By contrast, patients who use prescription opiates are allowed to drive in Pennsylvania unless they are impaired.
Yeah. Yeah. But
this
how do they
is-
define impaired?
Yeah,
That's
this,
yeah.
well, this is the same argument that people always have, that where they say, well, anarchists support drunk driving. Well, no, we don't. But what we point out is that the state trying to arbitrarily just declare X amount of compound in your bloodstream equals impairment is insane, and they never come up with a legitimate number.
To put this in perspective, comparing it to alcohol, right? Alcohol stays in your system 24 hours, right? So Andrew
Well,
could
it
have,
depends. You can metabolize one
yeah,
drink an
well.
hour, but yeah.
So say Andrew had a beer yesterday, he drives today. Oh, there's alcohol in his blood. He's a DUI.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent of this. Like,
Yeah.
but if you had been taking opiates, you'd be fine.
Right.
Well, and the fact that the non-psychoactive ingredients being in your bloodstream also rules you as impaired is just the height of absurdity. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not even psychoactive. Like, your body produces tetrahydrocannabinol along with a whole bunch of the other compounds that are in marijuana that they're talking about on its own.
Yeah.
It just does it naturally. So what you're literally saying is that every single human being in the state of Pennsylvania is perpetually under threat of a DUI.
200,000 people in Pennsylvania are DUI 24/7, 365.
Well, what Andrew's saying is
I'm saying
everybody is,
everyone.
because everybody has at least some THC in their system because our bodies manufacture it naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, what? Seriously? Like, no one can drive anymore. No one. Absolutely nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Pennsylvania, and the Amish are pretty big there, so I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like the law says you can take marijuana, you can use medical marijuana. All right, you use medical marijuana. Oh wait, you can't drive now.
Can't drive, can't own guns.
Can't own guns. Sorry.
You only get so much freedom.
Right. These are your freedom credits. Spend them wisely.
Yeah, you only get so many.
Yeah.
This game sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck this game.
Like, this isn't your freedom should not be a character sheet for D&D. Okay, you should not only get X amount of points to spend. That is not how this is supposed to work. That's not actual freedom, people.
Yeah, that's not freedom.
roll for liberty using the 4-sided die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3. Oh, I'm sorry.
In California, 4 out of the 6
it's
are
a coin.
just
It's a
ones.
coin.
Yeah.
California, it's a coin. One. Oh, sorry, you have to live in city limits.
Yeah.
God.
It's just the most absurd. Like, I can't even. And this is the danger. This is the problem too with government, where government isn't just inept, it's inherently inept, because people who get elected are not doctors, they're not scientists, they're almost all lawyers, all of them. They're all lawyers, and all it is a popularity contest. This is not conducive to intelligent decision making on specific topics.
And the people who enforce these lawyers' rules are not encouraged to think for themselves and determine what is a common sense application of this law and what is maybe something that wasn't addressed by it, but that shouldn't be covered by it or whatever. These people never think for themselves. They're just enforcing. I'm just doing my job. I don't write the laws. I just enforce them.
Yeah, government is an exercise in cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
just
exactly
the blindly obedient, obeying the fucking, people who don't know what the fuck they're doing or talking about.
Well, and you see examples of that constantly. There's a lot of states that have the helmet laws for motorcycles, right? Where for your safety. Well, a couple of years ago, there was that car company that came out with a car that had like a motorcycle engine, and it was so small and so light. It was actually, and it was 3 wheels. It was registered as a motorcycle.
Spider.
Yeah, something like that. And but the problem is, because it's an enclosed vehicle with a seatbelt.
Mm-hmm.
If you wear a helmet without a neck brace and you get into an accident, it's going to break your neck.
Right.
It just is. So it would be unsafe for you to do that and to wear that helmet. But the law will not allow you to use the vehicle without a helmet on because it's a motorcycle.
Gets registered as a motorcycle.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I mean, you see the same thing in gun laws where we don't know what to call this, so you're not allowed to own it.
California, San Francisco, you can't have hollow point ammo.
Yeah, well, what?
Yeah, you can't possess hollow point ammo. Like literally, it's literally like the safest ammo you could use. You can't use it
because it won't go through and damage anything behind your target. Yeah. Nobody else is gonna get hurt.
Nope. Got to use FMJs. You got to punch right through the bad guy and then into the little girl standing behind him. That's what you got. Like, it's the dumbest. You see that? You
can shit on the sidewalk, and the city will give you free needles, but you can't.
But you can't carry non-over-penetrating.
Can't carry hollow point to protect yourself. Yeah.
Well, and you see that with a lot of states with alcohol laws too, where types of alcohol are illegal in states because they don't know how to tax it. Like, that's why Wisconsin, you can have so much booze that you can't have other places, because Wisconsin has this little thing in its tax law that is we don't know what this is, so it's just going to be taxed at this rate. So that you can do that.
What is the one in Utah and I think it's Utah that the beer that you can buy at the regular grocery stores is capped at like a certain percentage, and if you want beer beyond that percentage, you have to go to a state-run liquor store.
It's the same thing in Georgia,
where the clerk is a badge-carrying officer of the law.
That's basically how Virginia is too. You can buy beer and wine in the grocery store, but for hard alcohol, you have to go to the ABC store, and those are run by the state.
Dude, you don't even know how much of a culture shock that was for me to go from Wisconsin to Georgia, and I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
It's just, what? I can't, because like I can go into a local gas station, and there's the beer cave in the back, and then there are full-sized bottles, an entire 3 aisles of liquor.
Yeah.
Same here.
And here in Virginia, they mark the liquor up at the ABC store by almost 100%.
Yeah.
It's just half as expensive on base because there's no taxes at the NEX. So that's where I always get my liquor. Well, and the NEX has a huge liquor aisle, let me tell you.
But I mean, that's the thing though, is like, because the state has to know how to it has to define the type of liquor in order to tax it at whatever rate. So a lot of times when people talk about, oh, you can't buy that in whatever state or they can't sell it in that state, it's actually because the state just doesn't have any language for what this thing is. It doesn't fit a definition, and because they can't tax it, it's just illegal to sell.
Yep.
Well, that's dumb. That's
Yep.
And these are the organizations that people are saying that they have to have. No, you have to have government, otherwise it would be anarchy.
Yeah. Anarchy sounds pretty fucking good compared to this bullshit.
Yeah, that
I'm
sounds
just
fucking
saying.
great.
Yeah. Don't threaten me with a good time potato.
Yeah, exactly. I love when they're like, "Oh, you sound like an anarchist." Gosh, do I?
Yeah. You don't fucking say. Buckle up, Buttercup, because
Yeah.
I got some fucking news for you.
Yeah.
I am an anarchist.
Yeah, I realize this may shock you, but I am in fact an anarchist. I actually
Yeah.
had somebody say that the other day in an alleged boog group. That was like, "Oh, you're starting to sound like you just want anarchy. I mean, you sound like one of those crazy anarchists." And I'm like, do I? That's interesting.
Yeah, you don't fucking say. Yeah.
Or they say like, "Oh, well, what do you want? Do you want to just do away with government entirely?"
That's a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. That sounds great. Yeah. That sounds awesome.
No one's saying abolish government. I was saying abolish government.
Yeah. Yeah. We just don't fucking need them. Well,
don't
what about
need 'em.
other countries? No, I didn't say abolish the U.S. government.
I
said abolish government.
Yeah, all government.
The
All
whole
of it.
idea of government all around the globe. Fucking abolish it.
Well, what happens
All
if the
around.
other countries know that we don't have it? No. You're not listening. You're not hearing me here.
Yeah.
When I say I want to abolish borders, I mean
All of them.
Borders. All
Yeah.
of them. Everyone.
Yes.
All of them.
Yeah. Yep. When I say I want to abolish government, I mean every single fucking version of government on the planet. I want it gone. All of them. Yeah.
And then their response is usually, well, but I mean, what if government comes back? Okay. And that
Abolish
puts
it
us-
again.
Yeah, and that puts us in a
Jesus.
different position from now because
Yeah.
I don't see where you're going here. And that's your argument.
Without government, warlords would take over. Take a look
government-
around, asshole.
What?
Yeah. Here's
I'm
a news
pretty
flash
sure.
for you. The government are warlords who have taken the fuck over.
Yeah, exactly. What-
Jesus.
How is that any different than now? Like, oh god, and they might start stealing from us at gunpoint. And I love to do that with them. And you start running with it, and you go, God, yeah, that does sound terrible. If they were just like they're warlords and they had these big armed people, groups of armed people who are willing to do violence against other people at their orders, and like they might start stealing from us at gunpoint, and like they might build these cages and start throwing us to these cages, and then telling us how we can. Like what we are
Live
and
our
not
lives?
allowed to do, within their territories.
And shoot you if you resist going in their cage.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that does sound really awful, doesn't it? And they're usually like, "Yeah, see," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's government. That's exactly what we have right now, right
Yeah.
right now."
That's literally government.
I was literally going over the current state of the United States.
Yeah, taxation is that.
Of
bro.
every fucking nation on the planet. Yeah.
All right. Speaking of government. All right. New Minecraft library is clever loophole and safe haven for censored journalism.
That's awesome. Yeah, I gotta
Right.
go in just a minute. I got kids. to
I
get to
know.
bed. Yeah,
I know. Too late.
So-
You have to stick around.
I know.
All right. To celebrate March 12th's World Day Against Cyber Censorship, I didn't know that was a thing. A fancy new library has opened on the block in Minecraft. It's called the Uncensored Library, and it's not just an elaborate sculpture made for a coffee table book. The Uncensored Library is a genuine virtual library inside Minecraft built to house journalism from countries where the complete press freedoms don't exist or selective censorship denies access to certain articles. The trick, Minecraft isn't blocked in the same countries. It's a fascinating loophole. Just pop into the game, load it up, which is free to download. I play with my son sometimes. The uncensored library server and pour through a bunch of books housing republished articles booked or blocked from social media and news outlets in 5 countries. Each country has its own room in the library, dressed up with sculptures and damn pop-ups. A bunch of books. Each country has its own room for a library dressed up with sculptures and sanctuary that speak to each other in countries' specific censorship campaigns. Mexico's wing wraps rows of books around a small cemetery at its center. Gravestones depict independent journalists murdered for covering sensitive political stories or investigating organized crime rings like drug cartels. Saudi Arabia doesn't allow independent journalism, so its wings features a singular cage at the center, symbolizing the journalists arrested and likely tortured for government criticism. It's not just the coziest library, it's also a necessity. The project comes from Reporters Without Borders, a group dedicated to ensuring proper press freedoms globally, and Blockworks, a collective of artists and designers that made a business out of creating elaborate scenes in Minecraft. So nice. then it just goes on talking about how to download a copy of the library, blah 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 blah. But yeah,
the amount of times lately that people have used online games to circumvent censorship and government crackdowns on communications.
Yeah, they were doing it in Hong Kong and.
Yeah, they're using like Pokemon and stuff for that, and they've used what's that really obnoxious RPG? I don't remember the MMORPG that's free that is lamer than hell. But they used that. They used all sorts of stuff that they could find, and I think it's hilarious that like at this point, like the gamers are the ultimate rebels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's what it is. Like, you know, they say invention is the mother of necessity, or necessity is the mother of invention. Right?
Reverse that.
Yeah. Well, that's what it becomes. Because it is a necessity to them, to the younger generations and to the independent media and to these younger people. It is a necessity that these people have a voice, that these people's voices get heard, because they do in a lot of the cases they do print what is reality. They're not watered down mainstream media, CNN bullcrap or Fox News bullcrap. I'm gonna have to go check it out.
Yeah.
So
it'll be interesting. It's definitely it's worth looking at too, just to see exactly what it is that actually gets censored in those countries. Because you hear that media gets censored, but what are they actually cutting out?
Right.
Like, and you guys have seen like here domestically, like with Police the Police and the Free Thought Project and antiwar.com and Cop Block, especially like all these independent journalism that were putting truth out there. They're censored by the mainstream media, the local media, social media. So definitely need to exist. So the link to the article and every article we discussed will be in the description below, as well as a link to Derica's book.
My God.
How much longer are you going to be?
Just a minute. Go. And don't fucking do that again. Jesus.
Was it Corona?
It was close. That was Micah, my oldest. Oh.
Yeah, go check out
the shit out of me.
And go check out Andrew's new meme page. Plug it.
Yep, the Inked Anarchist Hootenanny Roundup. So nice. I really gotta make a new profile picture. I'm gonna see if I can track down a good cowboy hat and throw on gear with a cowboy hat on and go head out to one of my friends' ranches and take a picture there for it. But it's the home for all of my now somewhat legendary Boogaloo side quest memes and a bunch of other Boogaloo memes and stuff. And it's going to become, I think, my main page. I'm just going to make that. I've talked about doing a page for a really long time and haven't. It's just been my personal one, but I think we're just going to roll with that one now. And that's going to be the home to all my insanity.
So, and that will also be linked in the description below. Yeah,
my
I don't have
book.
anything else.
How about
And
my
Derica's
book?
book. Buy Derica's book. Please buy Derica's book.
Oh my
Buy a
God,
bunch of her-
fucking please.
Buy her book so she stops complaining. Please save us all.
Buy my book and give it to people who need help with their critical thinking skills.
Yeah, if you buy 10 copies of Derica's book, she'll send you a roll of toilet paper.
No, I won't.
Shh, don't tell them that until afterwards.
I don't know
This has
who
been-
buys it. I have no way of knowing who buys it. So
You just ruin everything.
But if you
Sorry.
buy
You're-
10
you're like-
copies,
You're like the fun government. You just
my book is only hey, check it out. My book is like 200 pages long, right? And it's only $10. That's a lot of fucking toilet paper you can pull out.
that's
of the
where I was
center
going.
of
but
my
if you buy 10 copies of the book, you can hold on to one, and you have 9 to use as toilet.
That's right. That's right.
Although if you're gonna buy a book for toilet paper, the Communist Manifesto is only like $3 and change right now on Amazon. So that would be the one I would recommend.
Right. Diplomacy by Henry Kissinger. That one's got a lot of fucking pages.
Yeah, see, so there's stuff that's cheap and deserves to be toilet paper that you could turn
Right.
into toilet paper. So.
My book doesn't really deserve to be toilet paper, but
I'm sure you could get the tax code really cheap. And that's got to be thousands of pages.
yeah,
Oh,
true.
Yeah.
oh. Yep. On that note, this has been episode 85. Don't catch Corona, and we'll see you next time.
Yep.
Peace.
Wash your hands, you filthy animals.